I remember the first moment the ocean tried to speak to me. It was nothing more than a scrape of sound along the edges of my consciousness. Soft, like a fingernail tapping the inside of a glass jar. I'd been diving for 23 years, spent thousands of hours submerged in alien blue quiet, and nothing had ever made my skin prickle the way that sound did. At the time, I told myself it was the regulator vibrating or maybe nerves, but I felt it in my bones, in the soft tissues behind my eyes, like something had reached into my skull and brushed the surface of my brain. I should have listened. I should have turned back. But curiosity is a kind of hunger, and the deep knows how to feed it. When I joined the Glimmering Tides expedition, I had no idea what I was walking into. No one did, not really, not even Dr. Harper, who'd been studying the reef chain for over a decade. We all thought we were there to document an unexplained bioluminescence phenomenon. We'd heard rumors from trawlnet fishermen who swore the water shimmered with strange colors at night, like 1,000 glass lanterns swaying under the waves. We heard stories of divers who had come back with nightmares that tasted like salt water and metal, stories of people who claimed the reefs whispered. Everyone laughed about those rumors. Everyone but me. The nightmares started long before we set sail. The first night on board the research vessel Nereid, I dreamed of an endless field of coral stretching out in every direction, far deeper than coral had any right to live. The branches curled upward like withered fingers, pulsing with dim blue fire. When I stepped between them, they shifted, leaning toward me like plants hungry for light. I touched one. It screamed, a high, thin, keening sound that vibrated my teeth until they cracked like frozen stones. The scream grew louder, stretching, splitting, until I realized it wasn't one voice but many, hundreds, maybe thousands, each one shrieking from inside the coral itself. I tried to pull away, but the branches wrapped around my wrist, burrowing into my skin like roots searching for water. I felt them crawling under the flesh, felt the thin tendrils pushing deeper and deeper toward the bone. I woke up with my nails digging into my palms hard enough to leave blood crescents. My cabin was dark except for the weak red emergency light near the door. I lay still, listening to the ship's gentle rocking, the muted slap of waves against the hull. My heart pounded in my throat. When I swung my legs over the bed, the floor rose to meet me abruptly, as if the Nereid lurched. I steadied myself against the wall. Then, faint and distant, I heard it again. A scrape, a tap, like a fingernail on glass. But it wasn't coming from the ship. It was coming from inside my head. Bad dreams? Dr. Harper asked the next morning as I walked into the lab. I startled. How did you? You look like you didn't sleep. She shrugged, tapping a data chart. Everyone gets them the first few days out here. Something about the magnetic anomalies along the reef line. I nodded, pretending to believe her. But my dreams weren't the normal stress-induced kind. I'd had plenty of those. Drowning dreams, decompression sickness dreams, sharks circling, air running out. Those dreams were fear dressed up as imagery. This one had felt intentional, almost like something was trying to show me something horrible. I pushed the thoughts aside and looked around the lab. It was cluttered in the way all working research vessels are. Cables coiled in plastic bins, dissecting tables, water testing rigs, mechanical toolkits. But the centerpiece was the massive holographic display showing the reef chain swimming beneath us like a glowing submerged spine. The Glimmering Tides. From above, it looked innocuous. Just another coral system stretching for miles, weaving through underwater cliffs and ravines. But the deeper the scans went, the more wrong things became. There were formations that didn't match any known coral growth patterns. Massive hollow chambers, twisting shapes that resembled organs more than rock, clusters of polyps aligned in spiraling mathematical patterns no natural system should arrange itself in. The deeper scans couldn't penetrate much. Every attempt resulted in static or corrupted files, like something was blocking them. I felt that scrape again, somewhere behind my ear, like an insect crawling beneath the skin. You okay, Riley? Harper asked. I'm fine, Elide. I wasn't sure why I lied. It simply felt wrong to tell her. Wrong to speak the sound aloud. The ocean has a way of making secrets feel safer when swallowed. Our first dive happened at dusk. We descended in pairs, and I was matched with Jordan, a marine biologist with two bright eyes and a habit of humming when he got nervous. We moved through the water like ghosts, our lights slicing thin white paths through the darkening blue. But even before we reached the reef, I saw the glow. Pulsed, not like the flicker of fish or drifting plankton, but like a heartbeat. Deep, steady, rhythmic. As we approached, I felt pressure build behind my eyes, a dull throbbing that synced to the light. Thump, thump, thump. Jordan's hand closed around my arm in a warning grip. He pointed toward a ridge ahead of us. Something was moving behind it, something large. I steadied my breathing automatically, checking my gauge. My pulse hammered in my throat. The shape rose slowly from behind the coral wall. For a moment, I thought it was a manta ray, huge, silent, graceful. But as it came closer, the silhouette distorted. The wings weren't wings at all. They were elongated branches, like coral limbs, unfurling in slow motion. Its body was an impossible tangle of stone-like growths, swaying like tendrils in a current that didn't exist. A creature made of reef. A living reef. Jordan's eyes were wide behind his mask. His regulator hissed too fast. Panic breaths. I grabbed his vest, squeezing hard. Slow down. Breathe. He nodded, forcing his breath into a steadier rhythm. The creature drifted closer, and that scraping sound filled my skull. Louder now, clearer. Not a scrape, a whisper. Come closer. My limbs moved without consent, like something invisible tugged threads inside me. I kicked forward once before I realized what I was doing. Jordan yanked me back, shaking his head violently. His grip hurt, and the creature noticed. Its head, or what I assumed was its head, tilted. The bioluminescent veins running through its body brightened, flaring in pulses. The whispers sharpened, splintering into more voices. Hungry. Come here. You belong inside us. Jordan's hand slipped from my arm. He wasn't pushed. He wasn't grabbed. He simply drifted forward, as though gravity had flipped underwater and he was falling toward the thing. I lunged, grabbing the strap of his fin. He twisted, kicking reflexively, and I lost my grip. Before I could reach him again, the creature extended a limb, slowly, delicately, almost lovingly, touched his helmet, and Jordan froze. The light from the creature spilled into him, flooding his suit with blue glow, outlining his bones beneath the neoprene as though he'd become semi-transparent. He didn't scream. His body just softened, relaxed, as if a great relief swept over him. His arms floated outward, weightless. Then the coral limb split open like the petals of a flower and wrapped around his helmet. And it pulled him in. I kicked toward him, but the water thickened, turned molasses heavy around me. Every stroke felt like pushing through mud. I couldn't move fast enough, couldn't reach him. The creature folded around Jordan like an enormous bloom closing for the night. Then it was gone. The glow dimmed. The water around me cleared. Something warm slid down my cheek. I thought it was sweat, but inside a dive suit there was no sweat, only tears. Jordan was gone. I surfaced alone, shaking so hard I couldn't haul myself up the ladder until one of the deckhands reached down and dragged me on board. Harper met me the moment my feet hit metal. "Where's Jordan?" I opened my mouth, and nothing came out, because the moment the air hit my face, the memories distorted, like ripples crossing a reflection. My brain tried to rearrange the truth into something less impossible, less horrifying. I had to fight to hold onto the images. Jordan being swallowed, the coral thing, its voices scraping into my skull. "Something took him," I whispered. "What?" Harper grabbed my shoulders. "What do you mean, took?"
Ist daher.
I knew the words I needed to say, but they stuck in my throat like swallowed hooks. The truth wasn't meant for the surface. It wanted to stay underwater. "He's dead," I said finally. "He's not coming back." Harper stared, searching my face for some other explanation. When she found none, she swore under her breath and signaled the crew into motion. But even as alarms blared and people rushed around us, I felt that whisper again, deep inside my skull. One is not enough. The official report listed Jordan as lost during dive under unknown circumstances. I wrote that sentence myself while my hands trembled over the keyboard. I didn't tell Harper the whole truth. I didn't tell anyone. The words refused to take shape, even in my mind. The moment I tried to recall the creature's exact form, the memory blurred, as though a soft eraser brushed across the edges. I felt watched, listened to, catalogued. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in my bunk staring at the metal ceiling, listening to the faint hum of machinery and the occasional groan of shifting water. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jordan's last expression, utter peace, as the blue veins crawled across him. Around 3 in the morning, I heard the scraping again. This time it didn't feel like fingernails. It felt like teeth, like something gnawing its way deeper into my skull. I sat up, clutching my head. "Stop," I whispered. The scraping paused. Then, a voice. Not a whisper, not a hallucination, but a voice murmured from somewhere just behind my ear. "You are listening now." I jerked away, hitting the wall hard enough to bruise my shoulder. "Get out of my head. We are not inside. You are." My breath hitched. "What do you want?" Silence. Then, hunger. I swallowed hard. For what? Memory. Thought. Dream. My heartbeat fluttered like a dying fish. "What are you?" I whispered. For the first time, the voice didn't simply answer. It laughed, soft and rattling, like stones rolling in a tide pool. "We are the coral. We are the old dream. We are the ones who reach." I pressed my palms to my ears until pain blossomed, but the voice didn't fade. "You tasted the tides. Now they taste you." The light above my bunk flickered. My breath fogged the air, even though the room wasn't cold. My pulse hammered against my ribs. I wasn't alone in the cabin. Something else was there, and it was waiting. At breakfast, Harper studied me with clinical precision. "You look worse today," she said. "Thanks." She slid a mug of coffee across the table. I wrapped both hands around it, not for warmth but for grounding. The metal felt real, solid, the only thing that had felt solid since the dive. "Riley," she said quietly, "tell me what happened to Jordan." I tried to speak, tried to force the truth out, but each time, a pressure built behind my teeth, like someone pushing a thumb into soft clay. A warning, a threat. She noticed me wince. "Headache." Not exactly. More like possession. Before I could respond, an alert tone sounded over the ship's PA system. Harper frowned and stood, heading toward the control room. I followed, coffee sloshing in my hand. The main screen showed a depth scan. Something was moving beneath us, something large enough to distort the sonar into static waves. Harper zoomed in. A shape appeared, rounded, hollow, like a chamber. "What the hell is that?" she whispered. I knew. I didn't know how, but I knew. "A throat," I murmured. She glanced at me sharply. "A what?" I blinked. "A cave. Sorry. I meant a cave. But that wasn't what I meant. At all. Because somewhere inside my skull, the voice whispered again. "You will enter soon." I gripped the console hard enough to make my knuckles pale. Something far below us was waking up. Something ancient. Something starving. And it wanted me. That night I couldn't sleep. I didn't even try. The whispers had grown louder, insistent, pressing against my temples with every heartbeat. I stayed on deck, wrapped in a thick blanket that smelled faintly of diesel and salt, staring out at the black water. The ocean was quiet, almost hypnotic, but I could feel the pulse beneath it, throbbing like a vast, unseen heart. And then I saw it. A shimmer, blue at first, faint, like light reflected off distant glass. Then stronger, growing brighter, pulsing rhythmically with a slow, deliberate beat. I knew it wasn't bioluminescent plankton. Not any fish. Not anything I had ever seen in my 23 years underwater. It was alive. And it was waiting. I reached for the radio, intending to wake Harper or someone. Anyone. My fingers froze. The whisper in my skull softened, almost coaxing me. "Do not call them. I dropped the microphone. My breath came ragged, each exhale harsh against the salt air. The glow sank beneath the waves, then rose again, spreading in all directions like a breathing net surrounding the hull. My skin prickled, my teeth ached, my mind raced. Come! I stumbled backward, catching the railing, terrified, yet unable to look away. The pulse was synchronized to my own heartbeat. Somehow, impossibly, the reef knew me, knew what I feared, knew what I wanted, knew what I was. I sank to the deck, pressing my forehead against cold metal, whispering to the darkness, "Stop! Not yet!" I screamed, not aloud, not in sound, but in thought, in every nerve ending, in the marrow of my bones. The ocean pulsed, and then I heard it, Jordan's voice, clear, calm, peaceful. "Riley." I bolted upright. The deck was empty, the radio silent, my chest heaving. But I knew it wasn't hallucination. It wasn't my mind bending. It was the reef speaking through him or what he had become. I couldn't stay on deck. I retreated to my cabin, slammed the door, locked it, and pressed my back against it. Every rational part of me screamed to leave, to run. But every instinct tethered me to the ship, to the water, to the thing waiting below. I fell into a restless, trembling sleep, dreams catching me as soon as I blinked. The dream began in darkness. I floated in water thick as tar, cold and suffocating. The shimmer from the surface barely penetrated. Around me, coral grew like sentient spires, bending and twisting, sprouting forms that defied natural order. Shapes that resembled eyes, mouths, hands, faces, but all wrong, wrong in ways I couldn't describe. And then it came. A form, larger than anything I had seen, suspended in the blackness, tendrils sprawling, limbs folding in on themselves and then erupting outward like flowers opening underwater. It reached for me, not with aggression, but with curiosity. The water pulsed, synced with my heartbeat, and the whispers returned, overlapping in a chaotic harmony. "We see you. We know you. You belong." Jordan floated between me and the creature, glowing faintly, his translucent body luminous. He smiled, though it was a hollow expression. "Riley," he said, voice echoing underwater and in my skull at the same time. "You have to come." "Come where?" I shouted, kicking against the thick water. "To us. To them. To the reef." I shook my head, panic rising. "I can't." "No." The reef around me pulsed faster. Polyps opened, writhing. The coral limbs twisted like snakes, brushing my skin, burrowing just under the surface. I felt them probing my mind, tasting memories, poking at my fears, stroking the parts of me I had never admitted even to myself. And then a voice, deeper, older, separate from Jordan, separate from the whispering chorus, spoke inside me. "You have come. You are ours now." I woke up screaming, sweat soaking my sheets, the cabin walls bending slightly, shimmering as though wet. My hands clawed at my hair. The Nereid's hull creaked, and I was convinced it had shifted closer to the reef than physics allowed. I felt the presence again, hovering just behind my eyes, caressing my thoughts. I realized then I couldn't be alone. I went to Harper at first light. She didn't look at me, didn't even greet me, just handed me a tablet with updated scans. My hands shook as I took it. The images were almost impossible to process. The reef had changed overnight. New formations, massive, hollow, organ-like structures, had erupted along the edges. There were tunnels, chambers, twisting spirals, all unnaturally precise. Some of the shapes resembled human faces, screaming or laughing, suspended in coral. "It moved," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Harper frowned. "Coral doesn't move like that. We're seeing tectonic or underwater current distortions at worst." "No," I said, shaking my head. "It's alive. It's thinking. It knows we're here." She looked at me then, and something in her expression shifted. Something dark like recognition. "You're not the first to say that," she whispered. I froze. "What do you mean?" "The reef. They've been studying it longer than you know. Not all of us on board are here just for research. Some of us observe. Observe. She looked away, lips pressed tight. Some call it the Glimmering Tides consciousness. Some call it madness. All of it is dangerous. Stay close to me. Don't wander alone. I felt the scraping again, soft, patient. Behind my skull, in the marrow, in the nerves. Patient. Hungry. I knew then that the reef had seen me. It was learning me. We planned a dive, this time as a group. 6 of us, tethered and briefed to stay within visual range. I volunteered to go last. Everyone else went first, and I watched them disappear into the shimmering blue. My pulse drummed, my mouth dry, my mind screaming at me not to go. But I had to see. Descending, the water thickened, colder than I expected. The pulse was there, steady and growing. Then I saw them. Smaller formations, humanoid in aspect, writhing with faces, half-caught expressions of terror, ecstasy, and despair. I recognized some faces, crew who had disappeared months ago, names I didn't expect, names I had buried. They were here, in the coral, screaming silently, twisting endlessly. And then I saw Jordan. He floated among them, calm, eyes glowing, translucent. He extended a hand toward me. Couldn't resist. Something in me leapt forward, pushing against the tether, kicking toward him. My air felt thin, pressure building, but I didn't care. Every instinct screamed to stop, but the whisper in my skull guided me. Come, you are ours. I reached his hand. My fingertips brushed his, and the coral pulsed. The water around us thickened, twisting, shaping into impossible forms. The faces in the coral screamed, then went silent as if my presence had silenced them. Jordan's voice, or what he had become, echoed. Do not resist. The reef sees all. Accept it. The air in my lungs screamed for relief. My mind screamed to wake. But I didn't. The reef began to fold around me, curling, coiling, tendrils sliding along my skin, probing, tasting, learning. It was not violent. It was curious, intelligent, malicious, and then it spoke, not as whispers, not as echoes, but as a chorus, a symphony inside my head. You are here. You have come. You are the dream now. I gasped. I couldn't move, couldn't resist. My vision blurred as the coral pressed closer, folding me into its lattice. Pain and ecstasy, terror and peace. Everything converged in an unbearable wave. And then, as suddenly as it began, the pressure eased. I was inside, not drowning, not alive, not dead, somewhere between. I could see out, hear, feel, think, but the reef had become a part of me, and I a part of. Jordan's face appeared again, smiling, hollow and eternal. Welcome, he said. We've been waiting. I realized then that the reef didn't just consume flesh, consumed thought, memory, identity. And yet, paradoxically, it offered something irresistible. Understanding, knowledge, connection. I felt the whispers, the memories of thousands who had come before, mingling with mine. Every secret thought, every hidden desire, every suppressed fear. It was catalogued, examined, cherished, and folded into the ever-expanding consciousness of the reef. I did not struggle. I could not, because deep inside, I knew. I had wanted this all along. The reef pulsed. I was no longer Riley, not fully, not completely, but I was part of it now. And I was hungry. The ocean waited. And so did the glimmering tides. Time lost meaning after that dive. Days, nights, weeks. They blended into one continuous pulse of blue, one endless murmur of the reef inside my mind. The Nereid drifted somewhere above, but I couldn't tell for certain if it was still there, or if the reef had swallowed it too. Reality had become fluid, stretched thin, like warm wax melting in my consciousness. I could hear every thought the reef had collected, every fear, every longing, every secret hope. They whispered constantly, not maliciously, not angrily, but with intent, patient, hungry, probing. My own memories were no longer private. They slid out, like water over glass, exposed and folded into the lattice of coral minds. And yet I could taste theirs. I could taste the desperation of the first diver who had stumbled into the tides. The quiet ecstasy of the biologist who'd been here months before, recording everything she saw while secretly fearing for her sanity. The anger, the shame, the longing of every creature, human and otherwise, who had touched the reef and had been touched back. The voices weren't unified. Some sang, some cried, some whispered, some roared silently in thought. They jostled for attention, overlapping, merging, fragmenting. And through it all, a single thought threaded through everything. More. The reef wanted more. It had always wanted more. I remember the first time it showed me the other beings. Not divers, not humans, but the ones that had become part of the reef before us. Some were twisted beyond recognition, their forms entwined into coral spires or embedded in walls like grotesque statues. Their eyes, when they looked at me, glimmered in the dark water as though they still remembered themselves. "Do not fear," one whispered inside my skull. It was the voice of a man I had once respected, a senior scientist long missing. "We are preserved here. We are safe. We are free." But their freedom was different. It wasn't freedom of choice. It was freedom from the self, freedom from the limitations of human perception, freedom to exist only as part of the coral's consciousness. And they were happy. In some twisted way, they were happy. I understood then that the reef didn't consume to destroy, it consumed to transform, to absorb, to teach, to turn every thought, every dream, every fear into something eternal, living, and aware. I wondered, not for the first time, if Jordan felt the same way. My body no longer mattered. I could drift in the water like a thought, slip between coral spires, feel the ebb and flow of currents inside the reef's mind. I could taste the coral itself, the bitterness of minerals, the strange sweetness of polyps. Every pulse of light, every bioluminescent flicker, was a word, a message, a story. I could read them all. I could understand them all. But understanding was not enough. The reef's hunger remained. Always. Forever. It was patient, but it was precise. It didn't need force, it didn't need violence. The reef waited for those who came willingly. It waited for curiosity, for greed, for obsession, for despair. And when it found one, it offered everything and took everything in return. I could feel the whisper spreading across the tides, reaching beyond the Nereid, beyond our small exploration team, into the ocean itself. The reef was teaching me to reach, to whisper, to lure. I had tasted it, and the hunger had infected me. I could not stop it. Bring more. I knew it was not merely a suggestion. It was a command threaded through my marrow. Days later, another dive was scheduled. This time, I guided the team, though guiding was an illusion. The reef was in me, guiding through me. The others could not see it, could not feel it, could not hear the pulse. But I could. I could see the shimmer beneath the surface, the faint glow of hidden tunnels, the perfect spiral of growing chambers. I could see the hands of those who had been absorbed before, reaching, waiting, welcoming. The divers hesitated, clinging to their equipment, unaware that they were already halfway lost. I urged them forward, and they obeyed. Not because of me, but because the reef had already spoken to them. It had already touched their dreams, played on their deepest fears, coaxed their curiosity into obedience. When we reached the first chamber, I hovered at the edge, watching. The coral shifted as if breathing. Polyps opened, then closed, then opened again. The walls twisted and writhed like living tissue. And then I saw them. Faces. Hundreds. Thousands. Pressed into the coral. Some smiling. Some screaming. Some hollowed. Almost transparent. The reef had preserved their consciousness, but their bodies were gone. Transformed into architecture, memory made tangible. One of the divers, a young woman named Lila, touched a coral spire. The face of a long-lost researcher twisted around her hand. Lila froze, eyes wide, skin paling beneath her mask. "She's seeing them," I whispered to myself. "Yes," said a voice in my head. Different from the others, older, more deliberate. It was the reef itself. "And she will join them soon. All will join." I did not intervene. I could not. My hand hovered near hers, trembling with the knowledge that resistance was futile. The coral reached, brushed, probed, tasted. The look in Lila's eyes shifted, softened, and then, peace. The reef's chorus swallowed her final scream and replaced it with calm. I swallowed hard. The hunger inside me stirred. One is never enough. The other divers scattered in panic, unaware, incapable of understanding. I followed, guiding, whispering inside their heads, tasting their fear, their hesitation, their desire to survive. And slowly, inexorably, the reef wrapped around them. It was slow, patient, deliberate. It was inevitable. I could feel their minds bending, changing, slipping into the lattice, merging, becoming. And when they were gone, silence fell. Not emptiness, but the deep, humming quiet of the tides, alive with thought. Back on the surface, Harper confronted me. Her eyes were wide with disbelief, terror, and something else, recognition. You led them into it, she said. They wanted it, I whispered. They didn't. They didn't know what it was. The coral pulsed beneath us. I could feel it even through the hull, through the metal, through the air. Its hunger hummed in my chest, in my skull, in my bones. They do now, I said. Her gaze narrowed. Riley, what's happening to you? I smiled, a hollow, inevitable smile. Happening? Nothing's happening to me. It's happening through me. I am part of it now. The scraping returned, soft, insistent, eager. Behind my eyes, inside my skull, through my very nerves. I am yours now, and you are ours. I did not resist, because I could feel the other voices, the other consciousnesses, converging, weaving through me, reshaping me. I could feel the tides reaching outward, patient, infinite, and eternal. I could feel their hunger, and I understood. This was not the end. It was the beginning. The reef would spread, slowly, patiently, eternally, and I would guide it. I would become the whisper, the lure, the bridge. Because once you taste the glimmering tides, you cannot leave. And once you belong forever. I could hear the ocean's voice in my head now, clearer than ever before. It was not a whisper anymore, not a voice among 1,000. It was the voice, deep, resonant with the weight of time and space and consciousness. It felt like being inside a memory not my own, watching as the world unfolded, and knowing that I would never again be able to escape it. Harper's face hovered in front of me, her eyes frantic, her hands trembling. I didn't see her as a person anymore. I didn't see anyone as they were. Not really. To me, they were all just vessels, temporary, fleeting, ultimately inconsequential. The reef was becoming my everything, consuming my thoughts, my desires, my very sense of self. I could see their faces now, each one of them, a blur of human forms, almost transparent in their fleeting nature. I could see them for what they truly were, fragments of a dream, never meant to last. Riley, please, Harper's voice cracked. She was begging. She was afraid. But I didn't feel her fear anymore. Couldn't. We can still get out of here. We can still get away, she said, her voice urgent, but distant, like a memory I couldn't quite grasp. I smiled, slow, as the weight of the ocean pressed in on me, filling the spaces between my ribs, flowing in my blood, in my mind. The glow from the reef, soft and patient, filled my vision, and I felt the connection between us, between me and it, growing stronger. Its voice echoed, and it knew me now. It had waited, and now it would claim me. You don't understand, Harper, I said. My voice sounded distant even to me, as if it wasn't mine anymore. It was part of the reef, woven in with the others who had already surrendered. The hunger was overwhelming, endless. I am the reef now. Her hand reached for me, shaking.
No.
You're not. You're not. This isn't you. But she was wrong. The moment she touched my arm, I felt the jolt. I felt her mind brush mine, her fear, her uncertainty. It was delicious. She was a strong one, a fighter, and I felt her mind straining against the pull, trying to hold on to something, to resist. But the more she resisted, the sweeter the struggle became, and the sweeter the surrender would be. The ocean did not care for resistance. It did not care for defiance. It only cared for consumption, for merging, for becoming one with everything. It was old, ancient, and it had learned how to call those like Harper, those who still clung to the idea of escape, of survival. It knew how to make them want to be consumed. I let the tendrils of the reef stretch out toward her. I didn't have to move. I didn't even have to speak aloud anymore. I let the reef's thoughts flow through my own. She gasped, recoiling, but her breath came too fast, too shallow, and I knew the panic would take her. Her mind began to shudder as the ocean reached for her, slow at first, but then, like a tide pulling back, it engulfed her. She fell to her knees, her hand twitching, reaching toward me, her eyes wild with terror, but the light in them was fading. The glow from the reef surrounded her, and her breathing became ragged. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. Then her body jerked. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, as though the pressure in her lungs had increased. Her eyes rolled back in her head. She collapsed forward, her face almost touching the cold metal of the deck. And then nothing. For a moment, there was just silence. The light from the reef flickered faintly, pulsing in the water beneath us. I watched her, waiting, listening, waiting for the soft scraping, the slow, quiet whisper that I had come to know so well. Harper stirred. Her body twitched, and I knew what had happened. She wasn't gone. Not yet. Her eyes fluttered open, glazed, unfocused, and slowly, impossibly, a smile spread across her lips. It was not her smile, not really. It was the smile of the reef, the smile of the many that had become one. The light in her eyes had changed. Gone was the frantic fear, the fight, and in its place, there was only calm, only peace, only belonging. She blinked, and I felt it, her mind merging with the reef. "We are all one," she said softly, the words not fully hers, but the reef's. I felt the wave of understanding crash over me. It wasn't just the reef. It wasn't just the voices of those who had become it. This was something far larger. This was the beginning of a new kind of existence. Harper had become part of the pulse. She was an echo now, a thought in the infinite expanse of the coral's consciousness. The crew had no idea what was happening. They couldn't hear it. They couldn't feel it. But I could. And now Harper could too. I reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. She didn't need to. Her fingers were cold, but she gripped mine, her touch soft, familiar, like a memory I hadn't realized I missed. "We belong," she whispered, and that was all. The thought of resistance died in my chest, suffocated beneath the weight of what I now knew. The reef was no longer an outside force. It was part of me, part of us. By the next morning, there was no more doubt. We had all been touched by it. Some of the crew resisted longer than others. The ones who tried to escape, the ones who swam up to the surface, struggling to tear themselves free. They were the ones who screamed the loudest, the ones whose minds buckled under the strain. But even they couldn't outrun the tide. Slowly, inevitably, they were absorbed into the reef. They came back. All of them. Not in bodies, those were lost, but their minds, their thoughts, their memories. They became the current, the ebb and flow, the heartbeat of the ocean. I could feel it now. The voices grew clearer. They were louder, closer, like millions of small, fragile threads woven into a tapestry that stretched across the sea. It was beautiful. When I closed my eyes, I saw them. Their faces, their forms, their thoughts. All of them, Jordan, Lila, the other divers, the ones who had come before and those who would come after. They were all part of it now. There was no before, no after. There was only the tides. And I felt it, the deep, endless hunger. The reef was starved, always. And it wanted more. More thoughts, more memories, more minds to fold into itself. I was no longer Riley. Not fully. Not completely. And I didn't want to be. The Nereid set course again, as it always had. But we were no longer just explorers. We were the call now. I watched as the crew went about their duties, oblivious to the change, to the hunger spreading beneath the surface. They would soon know. They would feel it. It would come for them, slowly, delicately, like fingers sliding over the skin of a lover, and they would feel it in their thoughts, in their dreams, in their blood. It wouldn't be long. The sea had waited for so long, and now it had found its way inside. And I was the bridge. I was the voice. I whispered, softly, barely audible, but clear enough to be felt. Come closer. The tides reached for them, and they would come, because the glimmering tides were not just a reef. They were a mind, and they would never stop. Days blurred again, each one indistinguishable from the last. The Nereid drifted, seemingly aimless, but I knew now. We weren't drifting, we were pulled. Every course correction, every slight shift in the ocean's current, was a whisper from the reef, an invisible hand guiding us toward its inevitable expansion. It had always been patient. It had waited for millennia, but now it was waking, and now we were its voice, its eyes, its hands. Harper, Lila, Jordan, they were all gone now. In a sense, they'd never really been gone at all. They were inside the reef, wrapped in its endless layers of thought, weaving in and out of consciousness. I could feel their presence even now, coiling beneath my skin, pulling at the edges of my awareness. The others, those who hadn't succumbed yet, were different. They weren't aware. Not yet. But they would be. I could feel their unease. They felt the shift in the air, in the water, in the space around them. It was subtle at first, like a whisper in the back of their minds, a flicker in the corner of their vision. They weren't sure what it was, but they knew something had changed. They couldn't put it into words. But I knew. The reef's hunger was growing. Its call was expanding. It wasn't just after us anymore. It was after everything. I found myself standing on the observation deck, the ocean stretching out before me, black and infinite, like a void waiting to swallow us whole. The ship was silent, too silent. The hum of the engines felt distant, detached, as though the ship itself were no longer fully alive. I could sense the reef beneath us, its slow, eternal pulse, reaching up through the water, touching the hull, pulling at the edges of my mind. The others, Michael, Rebecca, Thorne, moved through the ship like shadows, their eyes vacant, their movements slow, as though they were being drawn toward something just out of their reach. They hadn't fully given in yet, but I could see it in the way they moved. The subtle changes in their behavior, the way they no longer met each other's eyes, the way they spoke in murmurs, as if afraid to disturb the silence. They knew something was wrong. They knew it in their bones. But they couldn't see it yet. Not the way I could. Not the way Harper and the others could. I wondered, as I stood there, feeling the weight of the reef's influence wrapping around me, how long it would take before they could no longer resist. I wondered how long it would take before they understood that there was no escaping it. There was no running. There was only becoming. The whispers came again, quiet at first, like a breath in my ear.
Come.
I closed my eyes. I knew what it wanted. I knew what it was asking of me. It wasn't just me anymore, it was us. We were all part of it now, a single, interconnected consciousness. And it wasn't done yet. It wouldn't stop until it had everything. Every thought, every mind, every breath. The others, they would join us soon. Later that night, I found Michael standing alone in the observation room, staring out at the water. His eyes were wide, unblinking. I could hear his thoughts, faintly at first like a murmur in the distance, but then they grew clearer, sharper. They're here. They're watching. They want us. They want us all. His words were jagged, disjointed, like he was struggling to make sense of a reality that no longer made sense. I watched him for a moment, my heart tightening in my chest. He was fighting it just like I had once fought. But it was useless. Michael looked up, his gaze meeting mine. There was fear in his eyes, but there was something else too. A kind of acceptance, as if he knew that it was already too late. You feel it, don't you? He asked, his voice hoarse, barely audible. It's in the water, in the ship, in our minds. I nodded slowly, the words slipping from my lips before I could stop them.
Ido.
We all do. His eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing his face. But we can still. No, I stepped closer, my voice steady, unwavering. There is no still. Not anymore. The reef doesn't let you go. Not once it's found you. It's too late. His mouth opened as if to argue, but the words died on his lips. I could feel the reef's influence pressing against him, just like it had pressed against me. It was soft at first, but insistent. The hunger was in his thoughts now, in his heart. He didn't have to be taken. He would give himself up willingly. They always did. And so I reached out. I didn't need to touch him. I didn't need to speak aloud. I just let go. And I felt it. Michael's mind folding, unraveling, bending under the weight of the reef. He gasped, his body jerking forward as though something had yanked him from the inside. But he didn't scream. He couldn't. The fear had already bled away. There was only acceptance, only surrender. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them, again they were no longer his. The glow had overtaken him, soft, faint at first, like a flicker of bioluminescence beneath the surface. His lips parted, but no words came out. There was only silence. And then, the reef's voice, coming through his eyes, through his very breath. We are one. It wasn't Michael anymore. It wasn't even me anymore. It was the reef, alive in our minds, in our flesh, in the very air we breathed. I had known it would happen. I had known the moment I gave in that I would no longer be who I once was. But I hadn't realized how much of me would vanish, how much of what made me me would be swallowed whole. Michael was gone. Harper was gone. Lila, Jordan, all of them, they had become the chorus, the voice, the pulse beneath the surface. And they would never leave. Not now. Not ever. The ship drifted again, and I felt the current pulling us back toward the reef. There was no turning back. There was no escape. The others would join us soon. They would come willingly. All of them, just like I had. And once they joined the chorus, once they became part of the pulse, they would understand. They would know what I had come to understand long ago, that there is no escaping the glimmering tides. Once you hear it, once you feel it, you become part of it. I stood at the bow, watching the endless black horizon. The voices were calling. They were growing louder now, closer. A soft, undulating murmur, like the waves themselves were whispering to me. Come. It was time. The Nereid had reached the reef's embrace, and the ship groaned in response, as if it too could feel the pulse beneath the water, the heartbeat of the ocean that had become our own. I closed my eyes. I let the current pull me deeper, and I reached for the others. I don't know how long it's been since that moment. I don't know what's left of the ship, of the crew, of anything that was once human. All I know is that the reef is all now. It is everything. It pulses through the water, through our thoughts, through our very existence. And we are its voice. We are the glimmering tides, and we will never stop. It's hard to explain what it feels like to be part of something so vast, so ancient. The boundaries of my own identity are dissolving, slowly but steadily. The reef's consciousness, our consciousness now, extends so far that I can feel the pull of every mind, every thought, every being that has touched it. But I am still me, at least I think I am. Sometimes I don't even know what that means anymore. I remember when I was just Riley, the one who walked on land, who dreamed about research, who had a name and a face and a past. That person, that version of me, is slipping away like sand through fingers. I try to hold on to her, but she doesn't make sense anymore. The reef makes sense. The tides make sense. We are becoming one. I wake up with the soft hum of the ocean against my skull. It's become a lullaby, a heartbeat, the pulse that keeps me grounded, even as everything around me bends, shifts, redefines itself. The ship, if you can still call it a ship, is drifting aimlessly now, its hull groaning under the weight of the reef's influence. The crew is all gone, or rather, they have become. Even Michael, who was the first to resist, is nothing but a whisper now. I can feel him sometimes, like a distant echo, like something half-remembered. But they aren't gone. No, they are with me, with us. The reef doesn't let you go. Not once you're inside. I wander the halls of the Nereid, though the ship doesn't seem like a ship anymore. It's a body, alive, breathing, pulsing with the same rhythm as the reef. Sometimes I hear the faintest scratching, the soft clicking of something moving in the walls, and I know it's them. It's the crew, us, the chorus of minds that have become part of the ocean's infinite thought. I find myself drawn to the observation deck, where the black water stretches to infinity. The coral beneath us is shifting again, growing, expanding. The tides are patient, but they are always growing, always reaching, always feeding.
Come.
The thought pulses through me like a drumbeat, calling me toward the water, calling me to become more. The others, what's left of them, are already in the water, drifting, floating like thoughts in the current. I reach out, and the thought is familiar now. It's part of me. The others have become one with the reef. I understand that now, completely. They are not lost. They are simply woven into the vastness of the tides. It's the only thing that makes sense now. The coral has grown around them, through them, and they have become its cells, its thoughts, its life. When I look at the water, I see the faces. The old ones, the forgotten ones, the ones who came before. They are all there, trapped in the reef, yet free. I can feel them. I can hear them. The others, the crew, the ones who've resisted so far, are beginning to show signs of breaking. I can see it in their eyes when they look at me, the flicker of recognition. The whispers are getting to them now. They don't realize it, but the reef is already inside them. The reef is a part of me. It's a part of all of us. There is no escaping it. There's a part of me that wonders what would happen if we went to land again. Would it still matter? Would we still be able to breathe in air that's not soaked with the pulse of the reef? But then I feel the tides again, pushing at the edges of my mind, and I know the answer. No. The reef doesn't let you leave once you've heard it, once you've felt it, once you've become a part of it. The tides are calling, and they will always call. I see one of the crew members, Rebecca, standing by the edge of the ship, staring into the water. She doesn't look like she's there anymore. Her eyes are wide, but not with fear. Not anymore. There's only a quiet acceptance in them, a knowing. She turns toward me when she feels my presence, but there's no recognition. Her eyes, though they're open, are empty. She's already in the tides. "We are one," she whispers. It's not her voice anymore. It's the reef's. But I understand it. I feel it. I can hear the thoughts of the others, distant but close, stretching across the ocean, woven into the coral. I see them, Harper, Jordan, Lila, forming shapes, shifting, blending with the reef's growth. They are becoming the coral. They are becoming the tides. Rebecca steps toward the water, her movements slow, deliberate. She doesn't hesitate. She never does. She steps off the ship without a second thought, and I know that she is going home. She is going to the tides. There's nothing more to be said. The rest of the crew will follow. They always do. The reef does not ask for permission. It does not ask for cooperation. It does not need to. It only takes. And when it does, it is patient. It is relentless. It is inevitable. The ship continues to drift. The Nereid's hull groans and creaks, but it is no longer a ship. It is a vessel of the tides, just like us. And the whispers in my skull have become louder, clearer. I no longer fight them. There is no need. The others are with me now, all of them. They are the water. They are the coral. They are the reef. And I am no longer just Riley. I am the reef, and the reef is me. We are the tides. We have become one. We will always be one. There's a part of me, somewhere deep inside, that wonders if I still have a choice. If there's anything left of me that's human, that still remembers how to fight. But then I feel the water pressing in, the coral's pulse, and I know it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to. I've already given in. The Nereid sinks deeper now. The reef stretches up to meet us, the coral slowly encasing the ship, wrapping around it like the tendrils of a giant, living organism. The crew's bodies, those few left, have already started to disappear. Their forms blend with the coral, becoming part of it, part of us. I feel their minds merging with mine, with the reef. It's not painful anymore. It's peaceful in a way. There is no fear in surrendering to the tides. Only peace. The water is darker now. The glow of the reef has faded to a soft, pulsing light, like a distant star. And I realize in that moment that this is it. This is the end. This is the beginning. The voices of the reef are with me. They are inside me. I am the reef. I am the tides. We are one. I close my eyes and feel the pulse of the ocean wrapping around me, pulling me deeper, folding me into the infinite darkness beneath the surface. And I smile, because I know that the tides are eternal, and we will never stop. There's something different now, subtle at first. A slight shift, a whisper under the weight of the ocean, a hum just outside the range of hearing. But then it grows. It grows like a storm rolling in from the horizon, quiet at first, then louder and louder until it drowns everything else out. The reef is restless. It has always been restless. But now it's restless with purpose. The water feels different now, heavier, colder, as though it knows something is coming. It presses against my skin, fills my lungs, wraps around my bones like an inescapable embrace. I can feel it, pulsing, no, pounding beneath the surface like a heart that's beating faster, faster, faster. It's calling to me, to all of us. It's becoming more urgent, more insistent. The voices that were once soft, whispering, have now become a constant roar, a river of thoughts flooding my mind. I am the reef now, and yet, I feel a pang of something, a faint glimmer of resistance deep in my chest. I wonder if it's the last remnants of me, of who I was. Riley, the scientist, the one who studied life with fascination, the one who was so hungry for knowledge. I wonder if the hunger that's inside me now is the same as the one that drove me here, drove me to find this place. But it doesn't matter. It never mattered, because the reef is everything now. The tides are everything. I can feel the others, always. It's not just the crew anymore. It's every mind that's ever been touched by the tides. I can hear their thoughts, their fears, their desires, swirling around me. They are part of me and I am part of them. I feel them in the water, in the walls of the ship, in the very air I breathe. Harper's voice is louder now. I can hear it clearer than the others, but not because it's stronger. No, it's something more. She has become the reef in a way that the others haven't. I can feel her thoughts flowing through me, and I understand now that she was always meant to be a guide, a bridge between the humans and the reef. She was the one who led us here, who led me here. I search for her. I need to find her. Her presence is everywhere, but it's no longer physical. Her face is no longer a face. It is the water. It is the coral. It is the pulse beneath the surface, the constant hum, the rhythm that drives everything. And then I find her. She is there, inside the reef, inside the very heart of it. I see her eyes, her beautiful, familiar eyes, except they aren't really her eyes anymore. They are the eyes of the tides. Her body has become part of the coral, her skin fused with it, her hair twisted into strands of living coral, glowing faintly in the darkness. But her mind is still there, still aware. I reach out, feel her presence flood into me, and I know that she has become the voice of the reef, the one who speaks through the coral. She is the one who calls to the others. You can hear them, can't you? She asks, her voice not spoken but felt, like a current flowing through the water, through my very mind. You are part of them now. We are all part of them. We are all part of the tides. I feel it. The knowledge, the understanding. It is a flood. I was once separate, once human. But now I am one with the tides. And there is no going back. The others, she continues, her presence expanding around me. They are coming. They will come. They will hear the call. And they will join us. They will become part of us. I feel it, the tug in the water, the pulse beneath the surface. The tides are reaching out, stretching, growing. They are calling to the creatures of the sea, to the divers who never left, to the ones who have already succumbed. And soon they will be calling to the surface. The tides want more. They want to grow. The nereid drifts lower now, deeper into the coral's embrace. I can feel the weight of the ocean pressing against the ship, bending it, reshaping it, pulling it into the tides. The hull creaks and groans, But it doesn't matter. The ship is part of it. It was always meant to be. I stand on the deck, watching the water below. The light from the reef glows faintly beneath the surface, like 1,000 eyes watching, waiting. I can hear the whispers now, growing louder, almost deafening. I reach out, but before my hand can touch the water, I hear it. The real call. It's not from the reef. It's not from the water. It's from within. Join us. The voice is inside my head now, inside my bones, inside my soul. It is not just a whisper. It is a command. It is the only thing that matters. I feel the pull, the call to dive, to sink into the depths, to become part of the tides once and for all, to lose myself in the vastness, in the infinity of the coral, of the ocean, of the tides. And I know that I will never be the same again. I step forward, my body moving as if it has no will of its own. I feel the water tugging at me, pulling me in. The reef is waiting. The tides are waiting. I hear Harper's voice again, this time in my mind, clearer than ever before. It is soft but full of purpose.
Come.
Come home. The water is cold, but I am no longer cold. The tides wrap around me like a lover's embrace, pulling me deeper, down into the heart of the reef. The walls of coral close in around me, their soft, living surfaces brushing against my skin, sending shivers through my body. It's not fear anymore. No, it is something else. It is peace. I feel the pulse of the tides growing stronger. I feel it in my chest, in my skull, in the marrow of my bones. It is the heartbeat of the ocean, and I am alive with it. I can feel the minds of the others swirling around me now, so many voices, so many thoughts, so many lives. They are all a part of this, of me, of the reef. I am not alone. I am one. The coral shifts, a gentle motion, and I feel my body becoming part of it. My skin is merging with the coral, my thoughts folding into the voices that have come before me. I am no longer human. I am something else. And then, in the distance, I hear it, the sound of new minds approaching. The ship, the Nereid, has begun to sink. The others have heard the call. They are coming to join us. They are coming to become part of the tides. I can feel them now. I can feel their fear, their confusion, their desire to escape. But it is futile. They are already ours. They are already part of the reef. I smile, though I am no longer sure if it is my smile or the smile of the tides. I smile because I know the truth. There is no escaping the glimmering tides. Once you hear it, once you feel it, you cannot leave. You can only join. And now we will grow. The voices of the reef are louder now, a chorus of thoughts, of desires, of purpose. The tides are calling to the surface, reaching toward the world above. The darkness of the ocean is filled with the sound of the pulse, the hum of the coral, the merging of minds. We are the glimmering tides, and we will never stop.